Tell him that it's live streaming a video to live production on YouTube and Ronald Jr.'s Facebook page. I can't get it on yours because I can't get hold of Kevin. I can't set up the stream on your page on Facebook.
Kevin, had you been able to get a hold of him?
Well, last night I tried late, and I told him, I got a persistent key. I'm not sure, but I think it automatically kind of goes there. It does, but you have to set up an event, and then it goes there. So I had it wrong, and I couldn't get a hold of him. But I did send him a link in an email, and he needs to post that to the Facebook page, post that link, and then it'll be there.
So this is going to YouTube?
Right, this is going to my YouTube.
Okay.
The current link's right there.
All right, great.
I put a gray over it to kind of on the camera, then I'll switch to the live one. So we got a live and close up, and also we're going to record on the 4K on here. Plus we got good audio this time coming in right from the speaker. Yeah, so everything's working good. The only thing I can't get into Strongsville, unless call Kevin and see if we can just. All he has to do is post that link to the to your Facebook, and then people should be able to see it. Gets it from there. And then if he can confirm it, then he can tell Shannon.
All right, thank you.
Check. check.
Bring it over here.
Check. Test. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the internationally famous Harvest Saloon, right here in Strongsville, Ohio. All of the elites come here to Harvest Saloon.
Am I bouncing here?
We're checking the mic for Ron, who is doing some videoing today, and we'll get this out at some point. Testing, check.
Bring it over here.
Check. He said he's not getting anything.
Can we stop talking to the audience?
Everyone stand by. We have technical difficulties we're fixing. We'll start in 5 minutes.
Check for Ron, check. Hey. 1, 2.
In case you come on, nobody going. This is just
Test. Check. Working out. Check. It's always a little thing.
I turned up the volume on that headphone jack just a little
1,
bit.
2.
You're getting a red light on your transmitter. What does that mean?
Too hot. But I had the battery out there. I got it on the camera. Okay.
Check.
And I do have some auxiliary audio.
We good? We're good.
Why did he announce it, everybody? Yeah, the Rod's having problems back there. Gee. It's our next.
Okay.
The world famous production.
Good evening, Strongsville GOP. I said good evening, Strongsville GOP. Welcome to the second event in our Decision 2024 series with our special guest tonight, Bernie Moreno. As is tradition for Strongsville GOP, I'd like to first start and ask our school board candidates, Beverly Jones, up to share a prayer to kick off our meeting.
If we could bow our heads, and I want us to think about the beautiful thing that happened today that we got a Speaker of the House because we finally got enough to vote unanimously. That's something to be thankful and grateful for. We also have some prayer requests for our friend Israel. We need to keep them in prayer. And I'm going to say on behalf of hopefully everybody in this room that we strongly denounce what happened to them. Hamas, Hezbollah, those that are anti-Israel and anti-Jewish, we denounce the violence that happened. So if we could just bow our heads. Lord, I thank you for the opportunity to see what you're going to do with this country. With our friendship with our friends, Israel, I lift them up and ask that every family be comforted by your Holy Spirit. I ask that every hostage be released. I ask that the negotiations will go, but what needs to be done will be done. That they will win and wipe out the enemy that tried to wipe them out. Tonight we are gathered together in a wonderful country that allows us the freedom to say what we're going to say. And Lord, I thank you for the speakers that are here. I thank you for Strongsville GOP and all of the people that are here, because we're in agreement, not on everything, but we're in agreement that this country is worth saving. I thank you for what you have planned for us today. And I ask your blessing on this time in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Thank you very much, Beverly. And I'd be remiss if I didn't take just one more moment. And everyone pay attention. You see the white badge on my lapel here. You'll see many people around the room wearing a white badge today. Those are the volunteer leaders for Strongsville GOP that spend their time away from their families, away from their jobs. Many of us, too many hours away from their jobs. Making sure events like this go off and that our campaign efforts are successful. And I wanted, this being our last opportunity to get together before this November's election, I just want to take a moment for everyone, please, to share your gratitude and your thanks for these volunteers that have put this together and have made Strongsville GOP the largest GOP organization in the state. And I do want to take a moment. I had a couple of our guests here tonight ask me a question. As many of you know, on December 7th, we're hosting our Christmas party, and Congressman Matt Gaetz is going to be our special speaker for that night. And I had somebody ask something that that comes up often. Well, why Matt Gaetz? And I want to share a couple bits of information with you that you're not hearing. Who here believes that you're not hearing the full story from the media? Let me just tell you something right now. Those of you who know me and have had an opportunity to talk, I've talked about my profession. My profession, unfortunately, takes me into Washington, D.C. and onto the Capitol a couple times a month. And I can tell you this, without any hesitation, the story you're hearing about what's just happened the last 3 weeks is not the truth. Everyone thinks that they know what happened. Everyone sees the pundits on TV and thinks they know what happened. I'm here to tell you one thing for sure. The only person that did an action in the last 3 weeks for a purpose was Matt Gaetz. Some of you are going, well, what is he talking about? How is that possible? I've been told that he's trying to destroy our party. Well, here's the thing I will tell you. We had high hopes that our own Ohio's Jim Jordan was going to be the next Speaker of the House. And many of you, and if I ask for a raise of hands, which I won't, think that he was taken down by a bunch of rhinos in the House. Well, I'm here to tell you he was nothing but caught up in a fight that looked more like a schoolyard than it did the House of Representatives. There are two sides in that House, in our Republican caucus, that are fighting amongst each other like kids. And neither of those sides is the one that Matt Gaetz is on. And everything that you hear, you need to think, what is the media telling me, and do I always believe what the media is saying? I'm happy to share more details with you afterwards, but don't believe everything you hear. There was kids in our caucus, they're fighting amongst each other, and just wasted 3 weeks without a speaker, not because of Matt Gaetz, but because they were unwilling to put their personalities aside. It was all personal for them. They fought with each other. They got finished. Now we're back on to business. Look, it took us 2 days, less than 48 hours to get a speaker. Once those guys went to the sidelines, we went to a real vote. 2 days it took. It took 3 weeks for those boneheads to get out of the way. Let's make sure everyone focuses on what we know is true, that the media doesn't tell us the truth. All right. All right, what I'd like to do is I'd like to start off our evening, like we always do, and announce our elected officials and our candidates in the room tonight. An order that they signed in, and I will offer the candidates and the candidates only. Well, actually, honestly, if any of you guys that I share your name. If you want to come up and talk, just come on up and get up here close to the stage and make it quick here tonight. Our endorsed candidates, take a few extra minutes if you'd like. First off, our endorsed candidate, the only Republican running for Berea Clerk of Courts, is Joanna Hamrick. Next up, representing our great congressman, none other than Chase Conklin, who's representing Max Miller tonight. Next, we have candidate for judge in the Berea Municipal Court. The only Republican running for judge in Berea Municipal Court is our own Michelle Lynch. And I want to pause for a second because there's a lot of misinformation happening. There are only 2 Republicans in those races that I just shared. Clerk of Courts, Joanna Hamrick, is the only Republican running. She's the endorsed candidate. The other person that's running is a Democrat. I expected a boo. And a hush fell over the room. Next up is our judge candidate, Michelle Lynch, is the only Republican running in the race. And the other candidate is a Democrat. Other 2 candidates. All right, next up is my colleague on the State Central Committee. I don't see her, but Doris Peters. All the way in the back, Doris Peters. Endorsed candidate for Council Ward 4, Gordon Short. My other colleague in State Central Committee, Melanie Mason. Let's see, our North Royalton School Board member, and I believe he said he wanted to say a few words, is North Royalton School Board member Jeremiah Sawyer. While Jeremiah is coming up, Jeremiah has been instrumental not only in turning North Royalton red, but also in starting the effort statewide to build a constitutional coalition of school board members, and has been instrumental in turning many school boards red since he's been on the job. So here we are, Jeremiah Sawyer.
Thanks, Shannon, and thanks, everybody, and thanks, Beverly, wherever you are, Beverly. Jeremiah Sawyer, I ran for school board in 2021. Myself and Lisa Shuck beat 2 incumbents in North Royalton. We don't have a conservative majority in North Royalton, but we're working on that here in November. We got 3 great candidates. As Shannon said, I started OSBCC to find conservative school board members across Ohio. We've got over 100 school board members in that group right now. We've got 120 running this November across Ohio. How about a round of applause for that? Just last month, North Royalton's a conservative community, as most of you know, just like Strongsville. Just last month, because of a brave parent, we found a pornographic book in the elementary school, and we had another brave parent testify in front of the school board about a girl that went into the boys' bathroom when his son was going to the bathroom. So this happened in North Royalton. Things like this are rampant across Ohio. In some schools, it's really bad. like Menor. I can give you some horror stories going on in Menor. The reason why I bring this up is because the legislatures down in Columbus could pass a couple of simple laws that would help our schools get back to academics, which is why I founded OSBCC, to get back to academics. If our legislator passed a law to not have pornography in your schools, like, should I have to actually tell you that today? But if they passed that law, it would have a huge impact across Ohio, because parents cannot get pornography out of their schools, believe it or not, but it's happening. If they also passed a law to keep boys and girls in their proper facilities and in their proper sport to play against their same sex, it would let you get back to education. These things are so important. The Blue 22 are not doing anything to help us with that down in Columbus. Boo! I know one Blue 22. He represents us right here, Tom Patton. Do we want him back in? So what I've seen from being on school board is you have to get in there and flip the boards, make them conservative. But what I've also seen, we need tough fighters in legislators down in Columbus to get some of these laws passed to get the schools back to academics. It's so important. Get out and vote for your school board member. Learn about your legislature so you can get out and vote for the right legislator that's going to fight for your kids and your family. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremiah. Okay, finally, our last person that signed in tonight was and you already heard from her for a while, but our only endorsed candidate for school board in Strongsville, and that is Beverly Jones. And I'll ask you a favor. If you're a Strongsville resident, what you can do for Beverly is 3 things. First, write her a check tonight. She's got another mailer she needs to send out, and more people need to know about her. So write this lovely lady a check tonight for $20. Secondly, please help volunteer for her. She's going door to door all the time. She and our other candidates need that help. And then third, and am I losing my... Oh, we're not going to have this again, Mr. Glenn, are we? I already forgot what the third thing is. Beverly says, say money again. So I will do that. But no, the third thing is, and this is a weird request, but I want to ask you this favor that will help her. And that is, if you're a Strongsville resident, you plan to vote in November, because all of you should be voting before now or by November 7th or on November 7th. Vote only for Beverly Jones for school board. The only endorsed Republican in the race. Vote only for Beverly Jones. Thank you very much. Now, I will tell you that I forgot one thing, because Beverly got me going on the speaker's race, and I just jumped right into it. So I want to ask all of us if we could, and a little out of order, but if we could stand and face our flag right here, and do our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next up, I'd like to invite Tricia, who's in charge of our campaign committee, up to talk. This is the last event prior to the November 7th election. There are several volunteer efforts that are critical to get our candidates across the line. Tricia is going to share what we're doing and how you can help. Tricia.
Hi there. Yeah, we have several opportunities right now to volunteer to we're in the crunch time. Our candidates need your help. They are being attacked by some of our other officials in the city, so we really need to get out there and do everything we can do to support them. So in that vein, I have a bunch of volunteer opportunities for everybody. The first one, and it's critical, we need people to work at the election itself. Just standing outside, handing out literature. We have shifts that are from 6:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. Then we have 11:30 to 1. and then 4:30 to 7. And we have them throughout the city at the different polling locations. So I'm going to have Ethel pass this around. That's one of the opportunities that we have. We are also having door knocking events this weekend. We're going to have it this weekend, Saturday the 28th. And we're going to leave from Harvest Saloon parking lot at 9:30 in the morning. Need everybody that has any opportunity to come out and help us with that. I know everybody's probably saying, door knocking, it sounds horrible, I don't want to do it. It's really not that bad. It's a wonderful opportunity to get to know some people in the Strongsville GOP itself. We don't make you go out alone. We always bring someone with you, especially if you've never done it before. So we give you the opportunity to learn what you're doing. Next Saturday, we're also doing it on November 4th. And that one, we're going to do it after the Breakfast Club, and we're going to leave at 10:30 in the morning. And then, these two. So, please sign up. Please, really. These candidates really need your help. They really need us to support them because they're wonderful candidates. I wouldn't do this if they weren't. The last thing is we're going to do phone banking. And again, this is an easy thing to do. It's not hard. We can train you how to do it. But we're going to have one phone banking, and you can do this from the comfort of your own home, or we could do it as a group, whatever everybody wants to do. But we have one phone banking opportunity for Bev, and then we have another phone banking opportunity with Michelle and Joanna. So if you want to learn how to do this, if you want to do this, please write your name down here. I'll give you a call. We can work out when you do it, what your password is. It's just through the Sidekick app through your phone. It's really, these are wonderful opportunities to help some really good candidates. So please help.
Thank you so much, Tricia, and I'm going to reiterate that. Thank you, Tricia. I'm going to reiterate that we have races that are very close. And many people ask, well, why are you going to stand out at Election Day? Why do you need my help? Everyone's been paying attention to issue 1, right? And if you haven't, I'll share with you the 30-second message that I've shared with so many people. Issue 1 is the most radical abortion policy in the nation. Planned Parenthood and the ACLU are asking Ohio voters to make it legal to abort a baby on the due date. They're also asking Ohio voters to make it legal to prevent parents from having a say with their daughter's worst day of their life, possibly. Preventing those parents from having those rights. Those two by itself should negate any yes vote on issue 1. That's why we're asking you to vote no on issue 1. But the reason why I bring that up in context, so many voters, so many members of the parishes of St. John Newman and St. Joe's and the other churches throughout Strongsville and the area are going to be coming out and voting maybe for their first time in a long time that it wasn't a presidential race. They're coming out because their leaders have shared with them how important it is to vote no on issue 1. But they may come and just vote for issue 1 and leave. If you are one of those people that spends 3 hours and you're able to hand out, one of the ladies would please hold up one of the slate cards for me. If you hold up one of the slate cards and hand it to them as they walk in the door, Tricia's holding it up right now, they are going to be inclined to vote for all of our Republican candidates, not just issue 1. It's so critical this year that we have your help on Election Day, and for that matter, the door-to-door efforts are terribly important because you need to be able to share that 30-second message and that of our candidates as well. So with that, before our special guest, I'd like to invite our club treasurer, Ed Oliveros, up to share another message with you.
Hello, everybody. Hey, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight to take advantage of this opportunity to listen to the great candidates that we have running for office. But given that, here again, thanks much. But I just have a quick comment that I try to make at every meeting we have when we get together, and that's about voting. It's really important that you vote. Surprisingly, in every election, many registered Republicans do not vote. It is really important that you vote. If you don't vote, vote, Democrats win, period. It's just that simple. If you vote, it makes it more difficult for Democrats to cheat, so voting is important. Also, I might add that absentee voting works. We have, in the state of Ohio, we have one of the best voting systems concerning absentee voting. You should take advantage of it if you can. It actually helps our candidates if you vote absentee or vote early, because they will know in advance that you've already voted, and they won't waste time and money pursuing you for your vote, since they would know that you've already voted. They can check at the Board of Elections. So there's many, many advantages. One of the simple advantages, obviously, is if you're going to be out of town, if you become ill on voting day, and you've already voted, everything is covered. So it's very important that you vote, and you tell your conservative friends, and remember, if you don't vote, Democrats win. Thank you.
Okay, and before we invite our special guest up today, I just want to remind you of Strongsville GOP's traditions for our Decision 2024 series. In this room, everything is on the table. Bernie is going to come up. He's going to share his message, his vision for the state of Ohio and for the nation. And then after he's done speaking, right here to my left, to your right, is a microphone. There'll be a line that forms behind that microphone. If you have a question to ask, please stand up right there, and we'll make sure you get recognized. Only one rule: questions only, no statements. If you want to make a statement, we'll cut you off and we'll go on to the next person, so questions only. With that being said, I'd like to introduce to the stage, again, for his umpteenth time here at Strongsville GOP, successful businessman and candidate for U.S. Senate, Bernie Moreno.
Thank you, Shannon. Well, thank you. I appreciate it very much, Shannon. This is a testament to you, how important Strongsville GOP is. And thank you for sharing your Wednesday evening here. Before I begin, I want to have Bridget, if you could just stand up real quick. My wife, Bridget, we've been married 34 years. You know, I'm truly a blessed person. I think you should know that about me. Bridget and I met in college. She travels all over the state of Ohio with me. That's about 2,000 miles a week for the last 6 months. Now, this is our last campaign stop of the season, though, because my daughter Emily is literally at home trying to figure out how to stop doing jumping jacks so she can let the baby out. So Bridget's going to go on what she calls an indefinite strike while she takes care of our baby here locally. But thank you, Bridget, for everything you've done for the last 6.5 months. I really want to hear what's on your mind, so I'm really looking forward to the Q&A. But I want to maybe just level set a little bit, tell you a little bit about my background, who I am. A lot of you may know me already, but in case you don't, you should know that I wasn't born in America. And I think that's important for you to know. And it's important, especially as we talk about the border and immigration. I was born in Colombia, South America. Now, for 51 of my 56 years, I never had to explain to people that my family came here legally. But for the last 5 years, I've had to explain to people, which is a new phenomenon, that we did come here legally. I'm the youngest of 7. My dad was one of 11. My grandfather was one of 23. So in case you're wondering if I'm Catholic, I hope I answered that question for you already. Now, the other question I get is, well, where did you go? I said, well, we go where every South American goes, which is South Florida. That's where we landed. That's where my family actually stayed. And then the next question I get is, well, how did you learn English? I said, well, I watched a lot of TV. I tried to figure out words that kind of matched English to Spanish. I watched a lot of Saturday morning cartoons. I did watch the Sunday talk shows, believe it or not, as a little kid with my dad. I do tell people that I learned how to play some American games like Cowboys and Indians. Although, did you guys call it Cowboys and Guardians up here? No. Oh, all right, just thought that was. No, just checking. Shannon, was that too low? Was that too soon for that one? All right, sorry about that. Too soon. All right. So anyway, I always loved cars. I always knew that I wanted to be somehow connected to the automobile business. My lifelong dream was to be the chairman of General Motors. So I know I have to get this out of the way. This is going to be a mean campaign. So there's two things I got to get out of the way. There's been a lot of opposition research dumped on me by my opponents. I kind of expected it. You know, the used car salesman line. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But the other thing you should know, and let's get it out of the way, and I do want to hear resounding boos. You ready? Number one, I did go to the University of Michigan. All right, perfect. All right, relax. Okay. Now, you got to forgive me, though. Again, just a kid in South Florida that wanted to be in the car business. The second thing you should know is that I didn't know English when my mom enrolled me in kindergarten in January of 1972. She put me right into kindergarten, didn't speak a word of it. So Sherrod Brown is going to run the ad that says, how can you vote for a man who failed kindergarten? Because I did. I did fail kindergarten. I just get that out of the way. Now, I think the best response to that ad, though, is to point out that Sherrod Brown currently supports a president in Biden that would fail kindergarten today. So I think we're even on that one, right? We're even on that one. The journey that brought me to Cleveland was actually not far from here. It's great to be home. I had the opportunity about 20 years ago to take every possession I had in my life, sell it, max out my credit cards, take the largest loan I possibly could to buy a tiny, tiny little car dealership in North Olmsted. My wife went along with that program, believe it or not, right? Can you imagine you come home and your spouse is selling literally every possession you have? Taking out loans that if we couldn't pay back, we would have been really broke. Not just a little broke, like broke for a long time. But we took that one little dealership and we built a dealership group that I'm really proud of. We had 12 dealerships here in Cleveland, one just outside of Cincinnati, one in Boston, one in Miami, 15 dealerships representing 30 brands, selling about 20,000 cars a year, doing about $1 billion in revenue. We built that over 12 years. We did it because we had a great team. We had amazing people working in the company. We built a great culture. And what we never allowed to happen was never forget that I was not the person in charge. The person in charge was our client. And I think what's missing in Washington, D.C. is a misunderstanding of who's actually in charge. Because it's not the politician. It's not the elected official. It's we the people. And that's what we got to bring back to D.C. Everybody, except for Joe Biden, knows the second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence, the most important document, honestly, in modern human history. We know what that says, right? We're endowed by a creator, right? But there's a line that happens at the end where it ends with, everybody ends it with life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Everybody stops there. The most important line, and ultimately what this election is about, is the words that follow, which are as following. In order to secure these rights, governments are constituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. I want you to think about that for a second. Where are we today? Where were we 3 years ago? Did any of you in this room consent to have your businesses closed? To be told that your job wasn't essential? To be forced to take an experimental vaccine or lose the ability to provide for your family? To wear a mask that common sense told us wasn't going to work? Now, let's fast forward to today. How many of you in this room consented to have 8 million people cross into this country illegally? And then put them up in luxury hotels in Midtown Manhattan at a cost of $6,000 per family, per room, per month. More than the average family in Ohio makes in a month. Plus 3 meals a day, plus National Guard protection, plus maid service. Did you consent to that? Did you consent to $33.6 trillion in debt as of today? Did you consent to give your taxpayer dollars not to pay for your police officers, but to pay for police officers in Ukraine and countries that hate us? That's what this election is ultimately about. You're going to hear my opponents in the primary sound a lot like my opponent in the general election. And let's talk about those things. Let's talk at the border, number one. Shannon said, what's my vision for this country? My vision for this country is that we restore the sovereignty and security of this country. That we, and we alone, are in charge of who enters our country, when and how. Not some Mexican drug cartel, which is the situation today. My opponents, again in the primary and in the general election, will say the same thing. But here's the difference. Here's what they won't say. What they won't say is that we have to end birthright citizenship. It is not in our Constitution that if an illegal immigrant happens to make ground contact in the United States and has a baby, that that baby is now the responsibility of the United States of America. That needs to end. They also won't say what I knew when I was a 5-year-old kid, because it was instilled in me with my parents, that when you pledge allegiance to this flag, you are now an American. And one of the things it means to be an American is that English is our official language. We can't have schools, Jeremiah, wherever you are, where teachers are having to deal with kids that learn 5 different languages. No, I'm sorry. English is the only language that is taught here in the United States of America as the main language. And here's what will surprise many of you, because it takes a lot to get politicians to actually tell you what they believe. You know, one of the things that led me to run for office beyond COVID was an incredible disappointment cycle. You'd vote for people who told you the things that you knew that you agreed with. They said things, you agreed with it. So you voted them, you knocked on doors for them, you gave them money, and then you're disappointed. And that cycle repeats and repeats. And I think the reason is simple. For the most part, these politicians are trained professionally how not to answer questions directly. The reason we've had a problem at our southern border since I can remember in America is because we keep rewarding bad behavior. What does that mean? If you cross into our country illegally, you've committed a crime. If you claim asylum and that asylum claim turns out to be false, you've committed a second crime. If you then stay past your asylum court date, you've committed a third crime. But both of my opponents in the Republican primary want to provide those people amnesty, allow them to stay in America. What's my point of view? Let me be crystal clear. If you broke into this country illegally and you did not have a valid asylum claim, you will be deported, period. And if we don't take that position, we will only keep having this problem over and over again. Both of my opponents in the Republican primary want to grant amnesty. One of them said the worst thing you could possibly imagine. He said, well, we can't take 20 million consumers out of the marketplace. That would be terrible for our economy. Let me just be clear. The United States of America is not an employment agency. The United States of America is not a marketplace. The United States of America is a concept of humans with a joint identity, a joint language, and a culture that as conservatives we want to conserve. That's what America is. On top of that, who do you think pays for the health care of illegal migrants? Who pays for auto insurance rates that continually go up because we have 8 million unlicensed drivers doing all kinds of havoc, including killing a 12-year-old child in Springfield, Ohio, just a month ago? We pay for that. Corporate America does not pay for that. Big companies don't pay for that. They raise our prices. And we, the consumers, are the one paying the bill. At some point, we have to draw the line. Because let me just say this. This next election is not the most important election. It's not. It's the last election in which we can actually save this country. Shannon talked about our new Speaker of the House. If the Democrats were to regain the House of Representatives, and you had Hakeem Jeffries, who 10 years ago would have been a full-blown socialist in the media, now he's a, quote, moderate Democrat. That's how far the Democrats have gone. If that happens, and Sherrod Brown gets 6 more years, and Joe Biden gets 4 more years, we in this room, all of us in this room, will have to answer to our kids and grandkids and say, we did not do our duty. We're handing this country to you, and we're shaped in the way we got it. I am not willing to have that conversation with my grandkids. And this is why Bridget and I together, despite Bridget having breast cancer diagnosis in December, a double mastectomy in February, a grueling process, yet she's willing to jump in a car with me, do speeches on her own all over Ohio, because we love our kids and our grandkids like you love your kids and grandkids. The Democrats cannot have control of our government any longer. Now, let me just say one last thing, and we'll turn it over to questions. I was asked the other day if we do this, which I believe we will, by the way. I do believe we keep the House. I do believe we win the Senate. And I do believe, let me just say the words clearly so that my opponent, Matt Dolan, can hear this. President Trump will be our nominee and will be the 47th president of the United States of America. And it's not confusing for me whether I support him or not. I support him unequivocally. I want him to win. We need him to win. Let me just be crystal clear about that. So when we do that, the question that I got asked is, well, will you work with Democrats? That's a question that's only asked of Republicans. Have they ever asked Democrats that question? You know why the answer is no? Because they don't. They do not. All right, so when we get power back, what we're going to do, are you ready for this? You may fall off your chairs. You ready? We're going to do the things we said we were going to do. That's what we're going to do. Right? We're going to secure our border. We're going to get inflation under control. We're going to unleash American energy. We're going to stop paying people to stay at home and not work. We're going to listen to this one. Jeremiah, where are you? We're going to eliminate the Department of Education. All right? And I'm not talking about over 10 years. I'm talking about year 1. These are the things we're going to do. Because when we do those things, we're going to show the country how things get done. Now, I answer that question that way, and somebody says, yeah, but you got to unite the country. How do you unite the country? How do you bring people together? You know what brings people together? A strong America, a successful America, a free America, a prosperous America, an America that projects strength all over the world because we're strong at home. That's what's going to bring people together. That's the secret sauce. It's not about figuring out what the Democrats have on their mind. We know what they have on their mind. My family left a continent in which every country has seen what they have in their mind. They want to turn us into Venezuela. We got to keep us as America. So with that, Shannon asked me to speak. He said, do you mind taking questions? I said, I have 2 rules. Rule number 1, You can tape record and videotape anything I say. Because what I say to you here is what I'll say to the media, what I'll say privately, and what I'll say to donors. Rule number 2, this is a really important election. And I really, really appreciate what Shannon and all of you are doing by taking the time to really understand who the candidates are. So please don't hold back. If you have a question that you think maybe I don't want to ask it, that's the question I want to hear. This is a job interview. This is the most important job that I've ever asked to do. You're my prospective employer. The relationship is you're more important than I am. So ask away. Shannon, I'll turn it over to you.
Please line up if you have a question.
Well, I told you just a minute ago I was going to ask you this question that I asked Matt Dolan. And I'm going to ask you the question that I asked Matt Dolan. I just told you I was going to ask you the question. It's really no point now. I asked Matt Dolan, I'll ask you, who do you plan on supporting in the presidential primary? And
Donald J. Trump.
Right. Anyway, I guess I wanted to get that out. I'm really glad to hear you say that. I'm absolutely a Trump supporter myself, and God bless you. I'm glad you have the fortitude to say that.
Well, let me ask all of you a question. I'm just being totally sincere. If you're running in a U.S. Senate primary as a Republican, and you get asked that question, and then actually the question becomes, well, if he is our nominee, who do you support? And you say you're not sure whether you support Trump or Biden. Is that not disqualifying?
Absolutely.
All right, we agree.
I also asked him, does he personally think that the 2020 election was conducted fairly and without fraud?
And did he say he had ears and eyes? Did he say, because anybody who had eyes and ears knows what happened in 2020. Listen, I'll just give you one example. The Hunter Biden laptop story in Cleveland, Ohio, not far from here. Joe Biden stood on that stage and said that 51 national security experts said that that laptop was Russian propaganda and misinformation. Lied. He knew that wasn't true. He had put everyone, his campaign had put those 51 scoundrels up to sign that letter. And had voters known then what we knew and what we unequivocally know now, there's no way that 13 Americans would have died in Afghanistan. There's no way Ukraine would have been invaded. There's no way Taiwan would have been in danger, and there's no way we'd have record-setting interest rates because Donald J. Trump would have been president.
Thank you. God bless you.
We have a rule of one question, no statement.
Sure. Okay. You have my vote because my wife's from Bucaramanga.
Bucaramanga.
It's been an eye-opener what's happening right now on college campuses with the anti-Semitic actions. Disgusting. And I'm really I've always been amazed to understand how the Jewish folks vote Democrat. I'm hoping this is an eye-opener for them, and do you think it's going to have an effect on the election?
Yeah, I mean, let's just be honest. What's happening in Israel has been going on for decades. Obviously, what happened on October 7th, the worst massacre of Jews since the Holocaust, was heartbreaking, to say the least. I'm Catholic, but my granddaughter is going to be Jewish. Max Miller, my son-in-law, is Jewish. My daughter's Jewish. It's unimaginable to know that there's humans that walk this earth that behead babies. Our colleges and universities are broken. I was the chairman of the board here at Cleveland State. I was vice chair at Tri-C. I'm very proud of the things that I did there, making certain that at Cleveland State, we honored free speech. We got rid of our Confucius Institutes. We didn't allow our kids to be brainwashed. but we don't have trustees at other colleges that are doing the same thing. My perspective as a U.S. Senator will be two things. Harvard, Yale, Princeton, these Ivy League schools which have gone completely off the rails should have their nonprofit status revoked. And then secondly, if you are teaching kids skills that matter, then the kids that go to that school should have Pell Grant eligibility. On the other hand, if you're a school that's indoctrinating kids, not allowing free speech, where you have professors siding with Hamas murderers, shaming Jewish students, no Pell eligibility at that college or university. That's really important. We as Republicans and as conservatives have to stop playing just defense. We got to start playing offense, and that's how we win.
Hi. Well, you kind of gave a little answer, but I'm a mother of a 22-year-old. How do we get back the youth vote, the kids that have been born and raised indoctrinated wrongly, the kids that feel that feelings are more important than truth and fact, the kids that will never, ever accept anything that is American?
Yeah, well, that's not going to happen on year one. I'm just going to tell you that. This has been a 40-year journey, 50-year journey. We've let it go on too long. God bless Jeremiah. Ohio Value voters, John and Diane Stover, have been working on this for years as well. Very proud to have the unanimous endorsement from their board in this race. Bridget and I aren't just putting our mouth out there. We are endorsing and have endorsed over 50 school board candidates all over Ohio. We have financially supported those candidates. So it's not just, hey, we endorse you, but rather written them a check, encouraged our contributors to write checks. And beyond that, what we have not done is not done one yard sign, not one TV commercial, because what we need to do is, my primary is not till March. I don't want to compete with eyeballs with local candidates and media messages with local candidates. If I start going on air, I make the price of those TV ads more expensive. So we're going to wait to do that until after this election, because we have to do this as a team. We have to all get massively engaged, because the indoctrination of our kids stops when we get school board members that are put parents back in charge, and we get the federal government the heck out of education. We do that, we'll fix our schools.
So I want an exact answer. What separates you from your other two opponents?
So number one, I'm adamantly opposed to any amnesty. Adamantly opposed to amnesty. Both of my opponents are in favor of amnesty. One of those, I had to explain what amnesty was. Look up the video. Look up the video. Number two, if I have the honor and support of your vote, have the honor of your vote and your support, you going out there and spreading the word for me, I am committing to you that I will serve 2 terms in the United States Senate and then come home. 2 terms, that's it. Now, Bridget says, just to be clear, any talk of a 3rd term is with my second wife. So she puts that clearly. Now, both of my opponents, this is important, actually, I'm going to take that back. All 3 of my opponents, including Sherrod Brown, are vehemently opposed to term limits. One of them is 44 years old. He wants to be there till he's 90. He probably thinks he's going to be president of the United States. And that's the problem with Washington, D.C. When you go there and you think that this is a forever job, you get sucked into that swamp. 2 terms, coming home. My political career will have a beginning and a fixed end.
Hi, Bernie. Glad
thank you for being here. I wanted to say that I'm very excited. Your campaign is really picking up a lot of energy. I personally am thrilled that you are so pro-life and vocal about it, and with education. None of our lives are going to really matter if what happened in Israel happens here. Can you help us understand how you can, I know you're one person, but there's got to be some kind of a network of military, government, and local people that can provide some kind of security, because there's a lot of sleeper cells.
Yep.
Dinesh D'Souza's movie really pulls it all together.
Yeah, no question. No, there's no question at all. In terms of the momentum, let me just say thank you. As you know, Senator J.D. Vance endorsed me back in April. Carrie Lake, who some of you hopefully saw, endorsed me. Newt Gingrich just endorsed me this week. Last time we balanced the budget was with Newt. We got Kash Patel, Matt Whitaker, 15 of President Trump's ambassadors, Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA. We've got over 30 national endorsements. My two opponents have the exact same number. Zero. And we have 400 local endorsements in every corner of the state. But let me just say this, and I've been very vocal about this over the last 3 weeks. Our leaders in D.C. have let us down. We know that. They've allowed 8 million people to cross into our border illegally. We don't know who those people are. We don't know where they are. And more importantly, we don't know their intent. We have to take action immediately. What we should be doing is suspending our asylum laws until the end of 2025, so no more asylum claims between now and then, so that we can secure the border. So if somebody does come across seeking asylum, we can say, nope, you must return to your previous country until 2025 is done. And then, in the meantime, we got to cancel the court dates of anybody who came here who doesn't have a court date past January of 2024. And we have to start immediate deportation actions against anybody who came here during Joe Biden. By the way, that is an imperative. You have to understand, it's not a matter of if. You understand that it's not if, it's when. In my particular case, I carry a handgun in the front seat of my car, I carry a handgun in the back seat of my car, and I have handguns at home. And others. Okay? Because we have to defend and protect ourselves, and unfortunately our leaders have put us in that situation. Yes?
Hi, thank you for taking questions this evening.
Of course.
My question is, how do we respond to other voters who say Bernie once entered the race and rescinded?
That Bernie, what do you do that for? All right.
Exactly.
No,
Thank you.
is the mic? I'm not trying to dodge that question, but can you guys still hear me okay? Oh, yeah. All right, it sounds weird up here. So let me be very, very transparent. As you know, I was in the last Senate race. That's not a surprise, all of you know that, or hopefully most of you know that. Last February, Bridget and I traveled down to Mar-a-Lago to meet with President Trump. By the way, let me just say this real quick. If the media even remotely covered the man who I know, this would be a 99-1 race. He would be the most popular elected official in U.S. history. He is a kind man, a gracious man. We had an amazing meeting. It was clear to me, though, at the end of that meeting, that most likely J.D. Vance was going to get endorsed. I did not want to put my political ambitions above what's right for the country. And what was right for the country then, and I still believe it today, was for us to coalesce around J.D. Vance, not spend $70 million of Republican money beating each other up. So I told President Trump, I'm dropping out of this race. Please endorse as soon as possible, and I'll endorse the person that you do, and let's get this thing done. That's what I did. Campaigned for J.D., and by the way, we got a great senator as a result.
First, I want you to know I'm a big supporter. I campaigned for you the last time, and I'll do it this time as well. But no disrespect here, but I've heard this
Marco Rubio moment.
Well, I have another strategy question.
Yes.
To beat Sherrod Brown, it can't be a personal attack on Israel. I mean, the issue for 2018 should have been Lordstown, not Renaisse's taxes, and Sherrod Brown being a wife beater. We're approaching a banking crisis, if you listen to some people, and there's at least two major holes in Dodd-Frank. And he's the chairman of the Senate Banking Committee. Do you have any thoughts on that you can share with us at this time?
Yeah, for those of you who are not familiar with Dodd-Frank, it was a law that was passed during the financial crisis that basically says we're going to make sure banks are not too big to fail. They created what's called the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, a completely unaccountable government agency, Elizabeth Warren's basically toy. And what we have to do is we have to massively reform Dodd-Frank because the consequences have actually been the opposite. The opposite has happened. What we have now is we have only big banks. That's where we're heading, Mark. And these big banks will get to the point where they become quasi-government institutions. And if you look at small communities, small towns, places here in Ohio that need small regional banks, community-based lending, they can't survive under the weight of these regulations. JP Morgan Chase is growing exponentially while these small banks are getting destroyed and merged into oblivion. That is a destruction of small and medium-sized businesses. But make no mistake, and I think you know this, Mark, it's not that Sherrod Brown and the leftists are stupid. They know exactly what they're doing. This is by design. They want to wipe out these small banks because they want to wipe out small businesses. They want us all working for giant government-controlled quasi-public companies with no identity, and they want to destroy entrepreneurship and freedom in America. That's how this movie will end if the Democrats stay in power. And that's all Sherrod Brown. When he says he's for the working class, he absolutely is not for the working class. He's the guy that wants to take your car and make it an electric vehicle. He's the one that wants to take the money that he hasn't confiscated from you and tell you how to spend it. He's going to give our auto industry away to China with these EV mandates and incentives. So it's not just Dodd-Frank. And you're exactly right, Mark. This is going to be a battle of ideas. His are very bad for American workers. My ideas are what's going to build and grow and have a thriving middle class. I'm going to leave you with a number here for a second. In 1949, 6 of the wealthiest cities in the United States of America were located in the state of Ohio. 6 of the top 14. We're barely in the top 50 today. Where are the wealthiest cities today? In and around Washington, D.C., in and around Boston, in and around San Francisco, in and around New York. This wasn't by accident. This was a gutting of the middle of America. We took our industry and we shipped it to China, we shipped it to Mexico. And our leaders made a fortune doing that. That's gotta end. Like I said, that's what this next election is all about. So massive reform of Dodd-Frank is part of the picture.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
So I, for one, for a lot of people here, really want Sherrod Brown out of Washington.
Let's take a poll. Who wants Sherrod Brown out of Washington?
However, Sherrod Brown has won by massive margins in the past because he has a lot of independents in his base. What is your strategy to try to win back these independents so we can send Brown back?
Sure. Well, let me just say, numbers are really important to me as a business guy. In 2012, Josh Mandel could have won that race. Sherrod Brown was kept at 50%. Josh was at 45%. And a Tea Party candidate got 5% of the vote that was funded by the Democrats. Okay? Now, in that year, we had, oh God, I hate to even say this. I got you guys ready? I'm so sorry. We had Obama versus, oh God. Say, oh God. Okay, Romney, right? Right? And in that situation, the black vote went for Obama by like 98%. In 2016, President Trump got 9% of the black vote. In 2020, 13% of the black vote. I predict next year, you ready for this prediction? I think he gets over 20. I think he gets over 20. We have the independence. We have the independence, we do. What we don't have is this constituency of the Democrat Party that they have done what they've done forever. They've done it since 1855. In 1855, the Democrats would have called Shannon Burns' great-great-grandfather a radical Republican. That's where that term originated. In 1855, the Democrats coined that term, radical Republican. You know what it was? It was Republicans who wanted to end slavery. Democrats who wanted to keep slavery. We won. We freed the slaves. We're the only country on earth to do that. Fast forward, say it out loud. Who started the KKK? Democrats. Not Republicans. Democrats did. Who created the welfare state that has destroyed black communities? Who refuses to allow black families to have school choice? They haven't changed. They're just better at hiding their objectives. We have to tell that story loudly and proudly and unapologetically. That's our problem. As Republicans, we're so afraid. Not the ones here. So afraid, and that's what we gotta change. This kowtowing to the media. Listen, I learned in middle school that the mean girls will always hate you. Don't be friends with the mean girls, right? In politics, who are the mean girls? The media. The media will always hate Republicans. Don't try to be friends with the media, right? That's what we gotta learn. We get independence by not falling into the traps as followers. If I said to you, Shannon Burns, is Shannon Burns a MAGA extremist? Don't answer that question. Do not answer that question. Do not fall into that trap. Turn it around. What does that mean? Say to that independent voter, what does that mean? Does Shannon Burns believe that people should come here legally and not illegally? Yes, he does. Does Shannon Burns believe what Bernie Moreno believes? That we should be dominant in American energy and not beg other countries for oil? Does Bernie Moreno believe that we should advocate for the interest of the United States of America before other countries? Yes, I do. Do I believe our U.S. taxpayer dollars should go to American government employees and not Ukrainian government employees? Yes, I do. Do I believe that parents should be in charge of their education? Yes, I do. You go through the list of issues. That's how we win over the independent voters. Don't fall into those traps. When somebody calls you an extremist, say, what do you mean by that? My opponents, both of them, I thought Sherrod Brown would do it. I was a little surprised by Republican opponents are doing it. Call me a used car salesman. You know what I say to that? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you know what? The guy or gal who sells used cars wakes up every single day, goes to work, and knows that if he doesn't do something meaningful that day to get to a result, he's not going to feed his family. On the other hand, the three of them, the career politicians, they wake up every day. Maybe they go to work. Maybe they don't go to work. Maybe they campaign for a different office than the one they have right now. Maybe they spend taxpayer dollars with no accountability. They can do nothing and still get paid. So yes, used car salesman right here. Thank you.
So Bernie, I actually have the pleasure of asking the official question on behalf of Strongsville GOP. For those that are familiar, we have a question we're asking every candidate in Decision 2024. And I'm going to break our rule of a statement in order to ask this question. Why? Because I can and no one else is here to shut off the microphone. So Bernie, as you know, and likely know, after the election of 22, our House members in Ohio, not in the swamp of DC, the swamp of Columbus, our House members got together and voted on leadership. They chose a certain state representative to be the Speaker of the House of Ohio. Then, our state representative, Tom Patton, along with 21 other bozos, decided to lie to us and choose a Speaker of the House that the Democrats wanted. They weren't clear. They actually said the exact opposite up until that day. And then they walked in and voted with the Democrats to choose leadership in Ohio. And my question to you is, what scenario would that ever happen for you in DC? Would there be ever a scenario where you would vote with Schumer to pick leader of the Senate?
You know, Shannon, there is no scenario on God's green earth in which I would ever collude with Democrats to select a leader of that chamber. That is insane to me. We aren't going to save this country and win by acting like Democrats. Like I said, here's what I'll be clear about. Let me just be crystal clear. We're going to win. I want you to know that. We will keep the House. We will win the Senate seat. President Trump will be in office. That is, in my mind, as sure as I'm standing here today, I know that's going to happen. When that happens, not if that happens, when that happens, Shannon, the last thing that will be on my mind is, what do Democrats want? Period. I have stood here before all of you, and by the way, before God, and pledged to you my agenda. You will have a commitment that I will go there with every ounce of my soul to complete those promises. And I know that President Trump feels exactly the same way. Think about this for a second. He knows that if tomorrow morning he woke up and said, I'm out, I'm a billionaire, I have a beautiful wife, beautiful family, a beautiful life, I'm out. Every single case would be dismissed by noon, and he could live his life. But yet tomorrow morning, like every day since he came down that escalator, he fights like hell for us. And when I leave this message to you, because I want you to understand that's what he's willing to do, that inspires me to do what I'm doing. I'm sure, Shannon, it inspires you to do what you're doing. You don't need to be here on a Wednesday night. But what greater cause is there at the end of the day than caring about this country, believing in this country, and fighting like hell for this country? Nothing. So we're going to do that. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you guys for coming. We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Everyone, Bernie Moreno. Don't think you're leaving. We've got one more announcement to make and two introductions. I'm going to do the introductions really quick. I saw two candidates walk in the room. Please give me your attention for a moment, please. If I need to, I'll get Beverly up here. She's a teacher, you know. She'd be the only teacher on school board. That's why you have to vote for her. I saw two candidates walk in. Our endorsed candidate for Ward 2 Council, Karen Farhat. You gonna come up and say a few words? Yep. She is. While she's coming up, I also saw candidate for state representative, Jonah Schultz.
Good evening, everybody. I am Karen Farhat. I am your Ward 2 City Council candidate, and I would appreciate all of the support that you could give me to your friends, to your neighbors. I've been walking around meeting some great great residents, and this is actually, people said the campaigning part was gonna be the hard part, and it's hard, because I'm a mom, I own a business, it's very hard, but meeting everybody is awesome. So, there's a lot more good people than there are bad people, so it gave me faith in humanity again. So please, share my name, Karen Farhat, with all your friends in Ward 2. Thank you so much.
All right, so there's always one last thing, and that is that I made a plea to you, and I gave you reasons why, I backed it up with facts, about why you need to volunteer to go door to door, and why you're going to need to volunteer on election day. I gave you a compelling case. I didn't lie to you. I gave you the facts. Now I'm going to try to bribe you. We've got some free t-shirts up here. Some Strongsville GOP t-shirts. Proud American t-shirts is what they're called. If you sign up for a shift today, you're going to get a free t-shirt. So sign up for a shift to go door to door. And yes, Ken, you signed up earlier. You do get that free t-shirt still. So come on up and get it afterwards. So please, we do need your help. Your help this weekend, next weekend, going door to door. Please make sure that you get out and tell your neighbors about our elected officials and our endorsed candidates. Did I miss anything else, folks? This is the last call. Last time I missed something? Oh, Beverly has raised her hand. Okay, really quick.
I ran out of yard signs, but I have a clipboard here that if you leave your name and number, I will be sure that you get a Beverly Jones yard sign. Thank you.
Okay, so next up we have Decision 2024 on November 15th. We'll have Secretary of State Frank LaRose. November 29th, we will have a town hall meeting with Lieutenant Governor John Husted. And then, of course, the Strongsville GOP Christmas party with Congressman Matt Gaetz is on December 7th. All of that can be found at strongsvillegop.org. And oh, did Jonah want to say a couple words? Jonah, did you want to say a couple words? Yep. Just in time. Come on up, man.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for giving me a moment here to speak. My name is Jonah Schultz. I'm running for state representative in the 17th district. And first of all, thank you to Bernie Morneo for defending car salesmen. My father was a car salesman, so we need to end this slander once and for all. So probably the most important thing he said tonight. But the second most important thing he said tonight was talking about his grandchildren. I have a 6-week-old baby girl at home. And she was born into a nation that is less prosperous, that is less free, that has less opportunity than the nation that I was born into. And that is not acceptable to me. And it shouldn't be acceptable to any of us. I'm only 28 years old, and the country I was born into is gone. Right? We have a Republican Party in the state of Ohio that is refusing to behave like a Republican Party, and it's time we send those constitutional conservatives to every level of government. Our local communities, our state, our federal positions in D.C. We need to create fortresses for liberty all around this country, and that's why I'm running for state representative here in Ohio. So please, I got my petition here today. Come see me, sign me, get me on the ballot, and come learn more about me. God bless. Thank you very much.
Just saying, there's a free t-shirt up here with your name on it. Come sign up for a thing. With that, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.